The Maltese Falcon. A mysterious black statuette sits at the core of the Maltese Falcon, released in 1941 as America transitioned from the Great Depression and prepared for World War II. The enigmatic black bird is more than a simple plot device. Its presence has sparked decades of discussion about hidden meanings in classic Hollywood. Director John Huston deliberately kept the Falcon's origins ambiguous, a choice rooted in Dashiell Hammett's 1930 novel, leaving audiences to interpret its significance for themselves. Some film critics see the statuette as a symbol of unreachable ambition, a metaphor for the endless pursuit of the American dream that ultimately corrupts those who chase it. The film's signature shadows and stark lighting, defining features of film noir, emphasize themes of deception and moral uncertainty. For years, rumors have suggested that Huston left the Falcon's backstory open-ended to encourage ongoing speculation, deepening its allure. The Maltese Falcon's legacy persists not because of the object itself, but for the questions it raises about greed, illusion, and the price of desire. Double Indemnity. Venetian blinds carve sharp lines across the frame in Double Indemnity, Billy Wilder's 1944 noir classic. Scholars like James Narramore interpret these shadows as visual shorthand for guilt and psychological confinement, a hallmark of the film's symbolic language. More than a stylistic flourish, the pattern hints at the character's entrapment and the genre's fascination with moral ambiguity. The infamous insurance policy at the film's core? It stands as a metaphor for the seductive dangers of greed and the illusion of protection. Some scholars see the film's symbolism as a critique of post-depression anxieties about capitalism, a theme that continues to attract academic attention. Barbara Stanwyck's anklet, rarely mentioned in dialogue but always in focus, has sparked decades of debate in film studies circles, representing forbidden allure and the era's coded sexuality. Dialogue brims with double meanings, a clever workaround for the Hays Code's restrictions, with historian Eddie Muller noting how every line is loaded with innuendo, masking violence and desire beneath rapid-fire wit. Fred McMurray's voiceover oscillates between confession and rationalization, reflecting a fractured sense of morality. As the climactic murder scene unfolds, nearly swallowed by darkness, some reports and critical interpretations suggest Wilder pushed the limits of 1940s cinematography, visually reinforcing the film's central metaphor. In noir, the shadows always prevail. The Big Sleep. The Big Sleep, released in 1946, is a milestone in coded Hollywood storytelling. Its famously convoluted plot, often labeled impenetrable, was intentional. Director Howard Hawks often remarked that audiences could overlook the plot, focusing instead on the film's charged atmosphere and romance, a sentiment echoed by Raymond Chandler, whose 1939 novel inspired the adaptation. In his 1950 essay, The Simple Art of Murder, Chandler championed mood and subtext over strict narrative clarity, a philosophy that permeates the film. Shadows and fog envelop Los Angeles, blurring moral boundaries and reflecting the post-war uncertainty of 1940s America. The cryptic bookstore scene, filled with double meanings and sly glances, famously pushed the boundaries of the Hays Code. Hawks and his team cleverly navigated censorship with coded dialogue, references to horse racing and rare additions alluding to forbidden topics. Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart's chemistry, heightened by their real-life romance, deepened the film's subtext of forbidden desire. Hawks reportedly encouraged improvisation, letting subtext carry the weight where explicit language could not. The plot's notorious confusion, so dense that neither Hawks nor Chandler could identify the chauffeur's killer, has fueled debate for decades. Some critics believe this ambiguity was a deliberate nod to the era's culture of secrecy and repression. The Criterion Collection's 4K restoration in 2023 reignited interest in the film's cryptic symbols and enduring mysteries. The fog, it seems, only thickens. The Night of the Hunter. The Night of the Hunter, released in 1955, is a cryptic tour de force in old Hollywood symbolism. Robert Mitchum's preacher, with love and hate tattooed across his knuckles, delivers a visual metaphor that has resonated through pop culture for generations. Director Charles Laughton, making his sole directorial effort, drew on German expressionist influences to create a world where shadows and set design pulse with hidden meaning. The infamous knife hidden in a Bible, the children's perilous journey downriver, and the preacher's beguiling sermons all serve as layered metaphors for innocence, corruption, and the duality of human nature. While some critics in 1955 admired its artistry, many found the film too unconventional or unsettling for mainstream audiences. Lawton's attempt to challenge Hollywood's strict moral codes, a point previously discussed, may have contributed to its initial box office struggles. Today, The Night of the Hunter is recognized by the Library of Congress as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant, and its enigmatic symbols continue to inspire analysis and debate among film enthusiasts. Black Narcissus. Black Narcissus, released in 1947, is a Technicolor enigma, layering cryptic symbols beneath its dramatic surface. The Himalayan convent is more than a backdrop. It's a visual metaphor for spiritual conflict, where even the wind and fluttering veils serve as coded warnings. Film scholars often highlight the gradual decline of the nuns' white habits, interpreting their stains and disorder as a metaphor for purity under threat. The precarious bell tower perched above the valley symbolized psychological danger, with every step suggesting imminent collapse. Ian Christie, a respected film historian, has argued that Powell and Pressburger used color as emotional shorthand rather than mere decoration. Red in particular bursts onto the screen, signaling forbidden longing and inner turmoil. The film's overt symbolism, as previously noted, was a clever tactic to navigate the censors of the time, allowing metaphors of repression and temptation to slip into mainstream cinema. The result is a feverish display of old Hollywood's secret language, where every gust of wind and shift in color hints at deeper, hidden desires. Sunset Boulevard. Sunset Boulevard, released in August 1950, remains a masterwork and symbolic critique of Hollywood's darker side. Billy Wilder's film transforms Norma Desmond's decaying mansion into a symbol of faded stardom and relentless nostalgia, with endless mirrors reflecting fractured identities and the industry's obsession with youth. Film scholars often argue that the house itself acts as a silent character, its crumbling grandeur echoing the fate of forgotten stars. The opening shot, a screenwriter floating lifeless in the pool, serves as a blunt metaphor for the cost of ambition and the seductive danger of fame. Norma's elaborate funeral for her pet capuchin monkey stands out as a cryptic gesture, fueling speculation that Wilder was satirizing Hollywood's real-life eccentricities. Cameos from silent-era legends like Buster Keaton serve as ghostly reminders of a bygone era, highlighting the industry's tendency to erase its own history. For years, rumors have circulated that some in Hollywood were unsettled by the film's harsh self-portrait, even as Paramount supported the project. Every frame is loaded with metaphors, from the swimming pool symbolizing both glamour and mortality, to the organ music and silent film screenings that hint at Norma's inability to escape her past. Sunset Boulevard doesn't just tell a story, it invites viewers to unravel Hollywood's deepest secrets, one cryptic symbol at a time. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, released in 1956, is a quintessential example of Hollywood's cryptic symbolism. On the surface, it tells the story of alien pods invading a quiet California town, but beneath the film is rich with metaphor and coded warnings. The pods themselves symbolize the loss of individuality, a fear that resonated in Cold War America. Critics at the time debated its true message. Some saw it as a veiled warning about communist infiltration, while others interpreted it as a critique of McCarthy-era paranoia. Director Don Siegel often downplayed political interpretations, insisting it was simply a suspense story, but rumors persist that studio executives push for a more reassuring ending, only to encounter creative resistance. The film's visual cues speak volumes. As the pod people multiply, shadows deepen, and familiar spaces become menacing, heightening a sense of creeping dread. The recurring motif of sleep, characters urge to avoid it, has been read by scholars as a metaphor for surrendering to conformity or external control. Subtle references, such as greenhouse imagery and recurring doubles, hint at anxieties about identity and autonomy. Decades later, debate continues, with new theories linking its symbolism to everything from social conformity to the dangers of unchecked authority. Unlike many films of its era, Body Snatchers stands out for its refusal to provide easy answers, leaving audiences to ponder its cryptic warnings long after the credits roll. The Red Shoes. 1948's The Red Shoes captivated audiences with a Technicolor palette so vivid, critics lauded its intensity. Later reviewers even described it as hallucinatory. The film's most enigmatic symbols are front and center, starting with the iconic red shoes. Scholars like Ian Christie argue that the shoes themselves represent the allure and peril of creative passion. Once the journey begins, there's no turning back. The ballet within the film blurs the line between art and reality, mirroring Vicky Page's unraveling as ambition and vulnerability collide. Mirrors appear throughout, often interpreted as signals of duality and the hidden costs of artistic drive. The production's meticulous attention to color is legendary, with Technicolor consultant Natalie Calamus overseeing every hue. The tragic finale, with Vicky's fate sealed by her inability to escape the shoes, continues to spark debate. Some critics see it as a metaphor for the ultimate price of perfection. It's said that Moira Shearer hesitated to take the role, more concerned for her ballet career and lack of acting experience than the film's somber message. Decades later, the film's cryptic symbology and metaphors remain a magnet for cinephile speculation and scholarly analysis. Casablanca. Released in 1942, Casablanca turned the so-called letters of transit into one of cinema's most cryptic symbols. Never explained, never shown in detail, yet holding the fate of every major character. The screenwriters, including Howard Koch, openly admitted the letters were a narrative device, a classic Hollywood MacGuffin. Production records confirm the prop itself was just blank paper, highlighting the emptiness behind bureaucratic salvation. Director Michael Curtiz filled Rick's Cafe with dramatic shadows, using chiaroscuro lighting to echo the film's central conflict between loyalty and betrayal. The fog-shrouded runway finale, staged with a cardboard plane model and smoke machines, is often read as a metaphor for the uncertain futures faced by millions during World War II. Scholars have long debated the deeper symbolism of Sam's piano and the rousing La Marseillaise scene, both seen as coded statements about resistance and hope. Legends tease that the script changed so often, not even the cast knew the ending. A fitting mirror to the chaos and improvisation of wartime survival. Casablanca's symbols, both overt and hidden, continue to inspire analysis, with some suggesting its metaphors echo in later refugee crises and political upheaval. The Grapes of Wrath. Premiering in New York in January 1940, The Grapes of Wrath brought the Great Depression's emotional toll to the screen with dust storms that blurred the line between setting and symbol. John Ford's adaptation of Steinbeck's novel transformed the Joad family's migration into a meditation on endurance, displacement, and the fractured American dream. Critics like Bosley Crowther recognize the road itself as a metaphor, promising everything, guaranteeing nothing. Ford, in interviews, described the journey as one of quiet desperation, a movement without a destination. Cinematographer Greg Toland's stark black and white visuals, filled with grain, shadow, and grit, intensified the sense of spiritual drought. And in the final frame, Jane Darwell's Maud Joad, illuminated in close-up, came to represent a kind of indomitable grace. Though lauded by many, the film stirred political anxieties. Some lawmakers denounced it as subversive, and studio heads feared its focus on poverty and injustice might provoke backlash. Ford insisted it was a portrait of human dignity, not a call to arms. Still, rumors of coded radicalism clung to the release. Over time, critics and scholars have returned to the film's quiet power. The biblical overtones, the metaphor-laden landscapes, the tension between movement and futility. Modern restorations have only sharpened its legacy, reaffirming The Grapes of Wrath as one of Golden Age Hollywood's most profound character arcs. Not just for Tom Joad, but for a nation at a crossroads. The Manurion Candidate. A simple playing card, the Queen of Diamonds, becomes the chilling centerpiece of hidden manipulation in The Manurion Candidate, released in 1962. At the height of Cold War anxiety, this card triggers a brainwashed assassin, serving as a metaphor for mind control in the era's pervasive paranoia. Director John Frankenheimer's surreal dream sequences blur the boundary between reality and psychological conditioning, intensifying fears of unseen influence. The memorable garden club scene, which transforms into a covert political lecture, is packed with visual cues about concealed indoctrination. Angela Lansbury's performance as the controlling mother earned widespread acclaim, her character's unsettling relationship with her son adding psychological complexity and hints of Oedipal undertones. Political allegory is woven throughout. Some believe the film's plot mirrored real-world anxieties so closely that Frank Sinatra, disturbed by the assassination of President John F. Kennedy on November 22, 1963, took steps to limit its distribution. Decades later, scholars and film enthusiasts continue to search for meaning in every frame, fueling speculation about the film's cryptic symbolism and its enduring impact on American culture. Vertigo. Vertigo, released in 1958, is a showcase of cryptic symbolism and layered metaphor. Spirals appear throughout, from Saul Bass's mesmerizing title sequence to Kim Novak's unforgettable hairstyle, mirroring the film's fixation on psychological unraveling. Hitchcock's use of spirals reflects Scotty's endless cycle of obsession. The color green dominates, bathing Novak's character in an ethereal glow at Ernie's restaurant and later in the hotel room, serving as a visual cue for mystery and the supernatural. The bell tower at the climax functions both literally and symbolically, a summit always just out of reach, warning against idolizing the unattainable. The innovative dolly zoom, crafted by Robert Burks, distorts perspective and delivers a jarring visual of Scotty's vertigo, a technique filmmakers have admired ever since. Critics and scholars have long debated the film's deeper meanings. Some argue Vertigo is Hitchcock's pointed critique of Hollywood's tendency to remake women into idealized forms, a theme that resonates even more today. Bernard Herrmann's haunting score envelops the story in a dreamlike haze, heightening the sense of unease. Upon release, reactions were divided, with some finding the plot convoluted and Novak's performance understated. Yet, especially after the major 4K restoration for its 60th anniversary in 2018, the film's reputation has soared. Stories persist that Hitchcock's meticulous demands for Novak's look and the film's bold color palette led to subtle tensions on set, highlighting his unwavering commitment to his vision. In classic Hollywood, obsession was more than a theme. It was a way of life. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment. Also, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get notified of our new videos each week. Thanks for watching.